Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Tanvita Neja. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. India asks Canada to bring those involved in the incidents of violence at Brampton to justice. US President Joe Biden set to address the nation after Donald Trump's decisive election win. And German opposition calls for immediate confidence vote. Germany's President Frank-Walter Steinmeier says prepared to call new elections. India has condemned the attack on the temple in Brampton and called on Canada to uphold the rule of law.
We condemned the attack on the temple in Brampton, and we also called upon the Canadian government to uphold rule of law and to bring to justice people who perpetrated the violence. We hope that the Canadian government will take due action.
Earlier, India had asked for security to be provided for its diplomats where a consular camp was to be set up but was not provided by the Canadian side. This led to India cancelling its consular camp.
You would have seen the message posted by our consulate in Toronto that they have had to cancel the consular camp that they were planning to organize over the weekend because they did not get adequate security or security assurance from the host government. So that was the reason why these consular camps have been cancelled. As you know, we have a large diaspora in Canada. Many of these people, especially around the month of November, December, they need several documentation for continuation of their pensions and several other activities here in India. So this consular camp that we do is helpful to the community, to both people of Indian nationality and people who are of Indian origin but Canadian nationals today. So that is the reason why the consular camps have had to be cancelled.
So in the post earlier, Indian consulate in Toronto noted that in view of the security agencies conveying their inability to provide minimum security protection to the community camp organizers, the consulate decided to cancel some of its scheduled consular camps. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar is on a 5-day visit to Australia. The minister met with the members of the Indian diaspora and MPs at the Parliament of New South Wales in Sydney on Thursday. He appreciated the Indian community for their contribution in energising India-Australia partnership. Earlier in the day, Jaishankar held a meeting with CEOs and business leaders where he underlined the ongoing transformations in India in digital infrastructure, manufacturing and skilling. He added that the robust business and investment linkages between the two are the key drivers of the comprehensive strategic partnership. Jaishankar also highlighted the work done in the third term of the Modi government for promoting global trade.
We've done less than 150 days of the third term. But even in this period, we have made we've taken some very big calls. Among the calls which might be of interest to you, one is to set up 12 major industrial zones across India with a view to attracting global manufacturing and promoting domestic manufacturing. Secondly, to double down on the infrastructure spending because the infrastructure investments are still primarily driven by government spending. 3, a big focus on human resources development, on skills.
US President Joe Biden will address the nation on Thursday. This will be Joe Biden's first speech after Donald Trump won the presidential elections, defeating Democrat Kamala Harris. The White House stated Biden will deliver the address at 1600 hours GMT. Joe Biden also called Trump to congratulate the president-elect on his victory and invited him to the White House to discuss transitioning administrations. In an emotional appeal, the Vice President and Democratic presidential nominee Kamala Harris urged her teary supporters to continue fighting for the values they hold dear, albeit peacefully. On Wednesday, she conceded the presidential election to Donald Trump. DD India's Shubhendu Ghosh was at the venue and gets us more.
While I concede this election, I do not concede the fight that fueled this campaign.
U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris delivered a passionate concession speech to her supporters and the nation on Wednesday after a whirlwind campaign that failed to stop Republican Donald Trump's return to the White House.
The outcome of this election is not what we wanted, not what we fought for, not what we voted for, but hear me when I say, the light of America's promise will always burn bright. As long as we never give up and as long as we keep fighting.
Hundreds of her supporters, many teary-eyed with the election debacle, gathered at Vice President's alma mater, Howard University, to witness her final speech of the election season.
Only when it is dark enough can you see the stars. I know many people feel like we are entering a dark time, but for the benefit of us all, I hope that is not the case. But here's the thing, America, if it is, let us fill the sky with the light of a brilliant, brilliant billion of stars. The light of optimism, of faith, of truth, and service.
I believe that she is a viable candidate for the presidency, was a viable candidate, and she held a lot of beliefs that a lot of us believe in, and a lot of beliefs that a lot of us didn't believe in, but at the end of the day, she was the best candidate. She was the best one to go forward.
I think the results are definitely a little disappointing, considering that I am a student here and I really did have high hopes for her to win. But we pivot, we have to find new ways to make a change within our system, whether or not we got the result that we wanted in the end. So I'm just curious to see how these next couple of months are going to go, and even the months leading after his inauguration.
Sometimes you're given everything. Sometimes it ain't earned in 2 months. She wasn't chosen. She was given.
Kamala Harris tried to give a good fight to Trump, having just over 100 days to campaign for the high-stakes elections. She prioritized women's reproductive rights as an issue in the elections. She was joined on stage by the second gentleman, Doug Imhoff. As Kamala Harris conceded the elections, she delivered a moving address to her supporters, asking them not to despair, urging them to unite and mobilize, and that some fights just take longer to win. With camera person Jaishankar, Shubhendu Ghosh for DT India in Washington, D.C.
Donald Trump's victory has surprised many but has shocked others as well. Right from international institutions to domestic clienteles, all are keeping their fingers crossed over the significant impact of Donald Trump's second term. DD India's Akhilesh Suman reports on what is in the offing for the world with Trump 2.0 presidency.
As Trump returns to the White House, the issue of illegal immigration is grabbing the headlines everywhere. This has been a pivotal issue during campaigning, and Donald Trump is expected to walk the talk when he assumes the charge. That would potentially mean renewed focus on immigrants and many deportation drives. A second term might mean a return to stringent curbs and of the border wall initiatives.
We are finally going to build up our country We're going to defend our borders, and we are going to protect our citizens. We're going to protect our land. We are going to protect our country. And we will stop illegal immigration once and for all. We will not be invaded. We will not be occupied. We will not be overrun.
Trump has traditionally focused on tax cuts, deregulation, and a pro-business approach. A victory could see renewed tax relief, particularly for corporations and higher income groups, along with efforts to reduce government regulation, especially in industries like energy and manufacturing. Trump may also push for policies aimed at reshoring manufacturing jobs, focusing on America First principles to reduce reliance on imports. Donald Trump is also likely to target parts of the Affordable Care Act, popularly known as Obamacare, aiming to reduce government involvement in healthcare. While he did not fully repeal it in his first term, he may attempt new modifications or alternative healthcare measures. Trump may also prioritize law and order policies, echoing themes from his first term, which focused on supporting police and enacting strict measures against crime. Trump in his first term did not recognize climate change and global warming as big relevant issues. In his second term, he may reverse climate focused policies of the United States and push for increased fossil fuel production. In his first term, the US withdrew from the Paris COP21 climate accords. European Union and NATO might be a bit skeptical about the impact of Trump's second presidency. Trump may renew pressure on NATO members to increase their financial contributions, with the possibility of scaling back US involvement. Trump might revisit and renegotiate agreements with key partners like the European Union, Canada, and Mexico, emphasizing terms seeking concessions for American industries and workers. Trump is also likely to maintain tough stance on Iran, possibly reviving maximum pressure tactics to curb Iran's regional influence and nuclear ambitions. And lastly, the UN officials are also skeptical about support from the US in their financial and logistical burdens, including the peacekeeping operations worldwide. Trump, in his first term, slashed US contributions to the UN peacekeeping budget and to key UN agencies like the World Health Organization and UNESCO. However, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres said that he was ready to work with the US President elect Donald Trump while congratulating him on his election as the US President. Akhilesh Suman's report for TD India.
China's foreign ministry has called for China-United States to be one of mutual respect where differences can be properly managed. The response came to a question at a regular news briefing on Thursday that asked confirmation of whether Chinese President Xi Jinping had called or messaged US President-elect Donald Trump. Xi's congratulatory message to Trump was more subdued this time than the one given when the latter first won elections in November 2016. The second question focused on China's response to Trump's proposed tariffs and Trump saying Xi would not invade Taiwan.
Xi Jinping has congratulated US President-elect Donald Trump. President Xi pointed out that history has shown us that cooperation between China and the United States will benefit both sides and that fighting will hurt both. A stable, healthy and sustainable China-US relationship is in line with the common interests of the two countries and the expectations of the international community.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu also spoke with Donald Trump to congratulate the Republican leader on his US presidential election victory. Netanyahu's office said in a statement that the conversation was warm and cordial. The statement added that the two leaders discussed the Iranian threat and the need to work together for Israel's security. Earlier in a tweet, Netanyahu had said that Trump's historic return to the White House offers a new beginning for America and a powerful recommitment to the great alliance between Israel and America. Besides, world leaders have been congratulating Donald Trump for capping a stunning political comeback. The leaders of Australia and New Zealand extended greetings, saying they would look to strengthen their cooperation with the US in the region, including in the AUKUS deal.
I look forward to talking with President Trump and working with him in the interests of both of our nations. President Trump has run a campaign based on change and he's made it clear he's going to do things differently. So we shouldn't be surprised as things change, but equally we should be really confident in ourselves and our place in the world as well and our ability to deliver on our interests together as Australians.
Still to come on this edition of DD India Live. NATO Chief Mark Rutte hopes to tackle North Korea-Russia threat with Donald Trump. And Chhath Puja festivities dedicated to worshipping the sun god underway across various states of India.
As our ecosystems change, we not only need to amplify our efforts to save them, but we also need to adapt our lives.
Today, everything grows here. At an altitude of 5,000 meters, we grow mushrooms, strawberries, watermelon and tomatoes. It's been made possible by the introduction of technology.
It's like with stocks. You diversify your portfolio to minimize risk. That's what we're trying to do with the mixed forest too.
People's mindset is changing in favor of electric mobility, and I see huge success in the future as well.
Same eelgrass is one of the most important elements in the ecosystem along the Baltic Sea coast. It produces oxygen and provides habitat for smaller fish.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I am Tanvi Taneja. Germany's President Frank-Walter Steinmeier has said that he was ready to dissolve the parliament and clear the way for new elections. This comes as Chancellor Olaf Scholz's three-way coalition is on the verge of collapse. German President has thus warned all parties to act responsibly.
The German Chancellor has declared that he will call a vote of confidence in the Bundestag. This is the way in which Parliament can pave the way for new elections. The German President must decide on the dissolution of the Bundestag if the Bundestag withdraws its confidence in the Chancellor in accordance with Article 68 of the Basic Law. I am prepared to make this decision.
Meanwhile, Germany's opposition conservatives urged Chancellor Olaf Scholz to allow a vote of confidence immediately and hold elections in January, the day after his rocky three-way coalition collapsed and plunged the country into political chaos. The coalition fell apart on Wednesday when years of tensions reached their peak in a row over how to plug a multi-billion-euro hole in the budget and how to revive Europe's largest economy, which is headed for its second year of contraction. Friedrich Merz, leader of the opposition Conservatives, who are leading in nationwide polls, said that this was too late and he wanted a vote of confidence immediately by the beginning of the next week at the latest.
There is absolutely no reason to wait until January of next year to ask for a vote of confidence. The traffic light coalition no longer has a majority in the German Bundestag, and we have to call on the Chancellor with a joint resolution of the CDU-CSU Parliament Group in the Bundestag to call a vote of confidence immediately by beginning of next week at the latest.
Anfang nächster Woche.
NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte has said that the strengthening ties between Russia and North Korea are not only a threat to European security, but also for the United States. North Korea has become one of the strongest backers of Russia's full-scale offensive in Ukraine, and the West has long accused Pyongyang of supplying artillery shells and missiles to Moscow.
China, North Korea, Russia, and of course Iran. And this is more and more a threat not only to the European part of NATO, but also to the United States, because Russia is delivering the latest technology into North Korea in return for North Korean help with the war against Ukraine. And it is a threat not only to the European part of NATO, but also to the US mainland. And that means that the Indo-Pacific and the Euro-Atlantic, but particularly also within NATO, US, Canada and the European part of NATO, we have to work together. So I look forward to sit down with Donald Trump to discuss how we can face these threats collectively.
In response to Mozambican police attacks through tear gas and weapons to disperse demonstrators, hundreds of protesters burnt tires in Maputo on Thursday. This is the biggest demonstration against last month's disputed election. The election killed, I beg your pardon, the protests have killed at least 18 people in the police crackdown. The election results turned out in favour of ruling party Frelimo. Opposition and civil society groups have said that the election was unfair as the results were altered. Australia has joined the list of countries that have vowed to curb social media use by children through legislation. But in Australia's case, its policy is one of the most stringent in the world. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese said the government would legislate for a ban on social media for children under 16, citing risks to physical and mental health of children from the excessive use of social media.
Look at other people that go to your school and it's like a bit like, oh my god, I need to be like them, I need to post more, I need to get likes and stuff like that.
I get really irritated when I have more followers, but then I follow more people.
Australia has unveiled one of the world's strictest social media restrictions for children. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese announced that the government will introduce legislation banning social media use for children under 16 years of age.
Now, government's proposed age is 16. That decision was made in Cabinet on Monday. And that proposal will go to the National Cabinet meeting that I'm convening online, a virtual meeting tomorrow morning. The onus will be on, just to go through some of the details, the onus will be on social media platforms to demonstrate they are taking reasonable steps to prevent access. The onus won't be on parents or young people. There will be no penalties for users.
Australia is trialling an age verification system with the restriction potentially in place by the end of 2025. Albanese justified the move by citing concerns over social media's harmful effect on children's mental and physical health. The ban will apply to all children, regardless of parental consent or existing accounts. The new law will target major platforms like Instagram and Facebook, TikTok, X, which was formerly Twitter, and YouTube. Australia's policy places it at the forefront of global efforts to protect children online. While France proposed a similar ban for those under 15 years last year, with parental consent as a workaround, the US has for long required parental approval for children under 13 years of age. A similar bill is to be presented in the British Parliament, with main provisions including raising the age of internet adulthood from 13 to 16. If successful, Australia's approach could serve as a model for other countries trying to address the risks of social media for kids. Bureau Report, TD India.
Celebrations of auspicious Chhath Puja festival is underway across various states of India. Devotees were seen performing puja rituals at Yamuna and Ganga banks. Chhath Puja is a vibrant festival dedicated to the sun god and his consort Chhathi Maiya. It includes rituals of fasting, bathing in rivers and prayers at sunset and sunrise. On the occasion, Prime Minister Narendra Modi extended greetings to all the devotees. In a social media post, Prime Minister Modi wished for happiness, prosperity and good fortune in everyone's life in this festival, which is a symbol of simplicity, restraint, determination and dedication. President Draupadi Murmu also extended warm wishes to all citizens. In Nepal, devotees gathered in Kamal Pokhri and Gauri Ghat in the Kathmandu Valley to celebrate Chhath Puja, a festival popular in Nepal's Terai region and bordering India's Bihar state. Decorated with flowers and lights, Chhath Puja and the Chhath Ghats drew thousands of onlookers as devotees offered prayers to the sun. Nepal's Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli extended best wishes to all Nepalis on this auspicious occasion. And now we take a look at other stories making news in India today. India's Chief Justice D.Y. Chandrachud inaugurated the National Judicial Museum and Archive at the Supreme Court in New Delhi on Thursday, joined by several Supreme Court judges. In his remarks, Chief Justice Chandrachud emphasized the role of judicial institutions in upholding justice and protecting citizens' fundamental rights. India's Environment Ministry has doubled penalties for stubble burning under new rules issued by the Commission for Air Quality Management. The government aims to curb stubble burning and improve air quality in the National Capital Region and adjoining areas. That's all for this edition of DD India Live. Do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. Connect with us on our different social media handles. And of course, you can download our DD India mobile app for quick news and updates on the go. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I am Tanvi Taneja from all of us here in New Delhi. Thank you for watching. Namaskar.